British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has promised Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy that armed vehicles will be delivered in the coming days. Johnson has assured Selenskyj that Britain will continue to provide Ukraine with material to defend itself. Downing Street said that in a statement on Saturday evening. The two heads of government also discussed the need for a long-term solution to Ukraine's security. Johnson said he would work closely with partners and allies to ensure the country could defend its sovereignty in the coming weeks and months. Johnson met Zelenskyy in person in Kiev last week. According to British intelligence services, Russia's war aim in Ukraine remains unchanged. Moscow wants to force Ukraine to give up its Euro-Atlantic orientation, the British Ministry of Defense announced in its new situation report on Easter Sunday. In addition, Russia wants to assert its own regional dominance. Russia's operational focus had recently been shifted to eastern Ukraine, but that doesn't change the ultimate goals, according to the British. According to Great Britain, Russian forces are currently moving combat and support equipment from Belarus towards eastern Ukraine. This includes locations near Kharkiv and Donetsk. Sorry, the names are really tough sometimes. The British Ministry of Defense said that Russian artillery continued to attack Ukrainian positions in the east of the country, where Russia plans to renew its offensive activities. The battle for the besieged southern Ukrainian port of Mariupol continues even after a Russian ultimatum expired. The Ukrainian General Staff reported on Sunday evening Russian missiles and bomb attacks on the city, which used to have a population of more than 400,000. Tu-22M3 hypersonic bombers would also be used. Russian troops have attempted to attack, especially in the vicinity of the port and the Azovstal steelworks. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal told US broadcaster ABC that the city had not fallen. The Ukrainian soldiers would fight to the end in Mariupol. And Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba reported on the US broadcaster CBS that their own troops were basically surrounded by Russian troops who wanted to raze Mariupol to the ground. Literally, Kuleba said the city no longer exists. Russia had previously threatened the Ukrainian troops there with annihilation. The units, including 400 foreign mercenaries, were holed up in the Azovstal steelworks, Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said in Moscow on Sunday. The government in Kiev has forbidden them to lay down their arms. Moscow had previously issued an ultimatum until Sunday noon and assured the soldiers that they would survive if they surrendered. In the event of further resistance, they will all be destroyed, said Konashenkov. According to Russian information, there are around 2,500 fighters in the plant alone who want to defend the city against complete conquest. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has repeatedly stated that he wants to do everything to save the strategically important city. At the same time, he warned Russia against terminating negotiations to end the war if the Ukrainian fighters were killed. To Russia's annoyance, Zelenskyy has so far refused to give up areas during the negotiations. The Russian head of parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin, accused Zelenskyy on Sunday of not moving at all in the negotiations. He stressed that Ukraine must give up its Luhansk and Donetsk regions, which Kremlin chief Vladimir Putin had recognized as independent states. And I call that blackmail. In an interview with the US television channel CNN, Zelenskyy again categorically refused to recognize the annexation of the Black Sea Peninsula of Crimea by Russia as well. Zelenskyy also said that it's important to find a dialogue with Russia if possible. But after the atrocities against civilians in the Kiev suburb of Bucha and other places, that's difficult. At the same time, Zelenskyy repeatedly demanded tanks and other heavy weapons from the West in order to defend eastern Ukraine. There is a threat of a major offensive by Russia. Mariupol is in the Donetsk region, which pro-Russian separatists want to take complete control of with Moscow's help. In view of the feared Russian large-scale attack in the east of the country, Zelenskyy announced tough resistance. "We will not give our territory up," said Zelenskyy in the CNN's interview. The battle in the Donbas region could affect the course of the entire war. Ukraine must therefore assert itself, and according to military experts, without the support of tanks and other weapons, the Ukrainian army is unable to repel a large-scale Russian attack in the largely flat terrain or to launch an offensive itself. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen therefore appealed to the EU's member states to quickly deliver arms to Ukraine. For all member states, those who can should deliver quickly, because only then can Ukraine survive in its acute defensive struggle against Russia, said von der Leyen on Sunday. Meanwhile, the European Union has sent additional funds for humanitarian goods. Brussels is providing a further 50 million euros for people affected by Russia's war of aggression, according to a statement. Accordingly, 45 million should go to Ukraine and 5 million to neighboring Moldova. The funds are part of the funds pledged during a donor conference organized for Ukraine last weekend. According to the announcement, the EU has now provided 143 million euros for humanitarian aid in response to the war. The new funds are to be spent on emergency medical aid, access to clean drinking water, and emergency shelters, among other things. Numerous areas of Ukraine also reported Russian attacks on Palm Sunday, which was celebrated there. The focus was still on the east of the country. At least 2 civilians died in the city of Zoloty in the Luhansk region, according to Ukrainian sources. 4 other people were injured, wrote the governor of the Luhansk region, Selenskyj, on Telegram. According to Ukrainian media, shelling in the center of the eastern Ukrainian city on Kharkiv on Sunday killed at least 5 people and wounded 13. According to the authorities, at least 3 civilians died on Saturday as a result of artillery and missile fire. 31 people were injured, said the government of the region, Ole Syniehubov. According to the authorities, part of the infrastructure was hit in the town of Brovary near the Ukrainian capital Kiev. There could be interruptions in the water and power supply, Mayor Ihor Sapochko said in a video, and the war goes on, he said. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the attack. A plant for the production of ammunition was destroyed there, said ministry spokesman Igor Konashenko in Moscow. And in the capital Kiev, the authorities announced that it had remained quiet there, apart from the air raid alarms. Unlike the day before, there were no new explosions. A spokesman for the city emphasized that it was too early to speak of a safe situation. That's why the day before, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko has warned citizens who wanted to return to do so. They should stay in a safe place, especially when they are in other countries. In the region around the southern Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv, the regional governor Vitaly Kim announced that the Russian army was still firing missiles. According to his own statements, he expects a mobilization in Russia that could last 1 to 2 months. That's enough time for Ukraine to stock up on weapons, he said in a video. And President Zelenskyy called on US President Joe Biden to visit Ukraine, and he did that during the CNN interview. Biden was reportedly unlikely to travel to Ukraine himself. Referring to US military aid, Zelenskyy said it would never be enough. Ukraine still needs more than what it has now. The United States recently pledged up to $800 million in weapons and ammunition to Ukraine. The US government has already pledged or delivered weapons worth $2.5 billion to Ukraine since the Russian war of aggression began in late February. The United Nations has so far recorded around 2,000 civilian deaths, but, like Kiev, assumes the number of civilian casualties to be far higher. The governor of eastern Ukraine's Luhansk region said Russia had already massed tens of thousands of troops for an early offensive in eastern Ukraine. And in addition, hundreds of units of technology were transported to the region, said Selenskyj. In his estimation, the Russian troops were just waiting for better weather to launch their attacks in the Luhansk and Donetsk regions at the same time. According to weather forecasts, the rain is expected to stop in both regions in the middle of this week and start again on Saturday. So some of you might have been wondering why I gave you so much Ukraine and not so much Great Britain here, but it all started with Britain and British assessments. And I think it's important when we get the information from the British Ministry of Defense to also take a look at the bigger picture. And that's what I'm trying to do here, because this war is something unique, because for a long time we didn't see war in Europe, and now it happened, and we must not forget what's going on there. Sometimes when you look at the media, they have quite downturned the reports on the Ukraine situation. Um, when I think about what our media here in Germany, how they reported a few weeks ago with a 24-hour coverage of the whole thing, and now, especially on Sundays and stuff like this, you get maybe 5 minutes. You have to keep that in the minds of the people. So what must definitely never happen is that Putin can just do whatever he likes there without being noticed. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.